Bonjour, everyone. Hi, this is Neshi Lokotz. Welcome to Communications from Home. Let me get the little sign up. And tonight's Tuesday, June 6th. I almost said July 6th. I know, didn't July just kind of like really fly by? I tell you, the last time I looked, it was the middle of June, and here we are in July already. Oh my goodness, I know. Time just seems to fly by so quickly, doesn't it? I know, especially when you're having fun. So welcome, everybody. Welcome to Communications from Home. It's one of the live stream shows here at Star Nations, and this is the Tuesday evening show that I do. And tonight's show is all about adrenal fatigue. Yeah, I have firsthand experience about it. And when I was asking my spiritual team, what are we going to be sharing about on Tuesday night? And it was really, really clear that it was about the fatigue and that it's real. And so maybe giving a little information and hopefully it'll be helpful to someone out there that has going through similar stuff, So I just want to say hi to a few people. They're popping in. Here's Rob. He says, someone went for a nature walk and got caught in the rain. That would be Paul and George. That's where they're at right now. And it looks like you're on YouTube, Rob. And Julie. Hello, Julie. Shumway Hill. Do you know that Julie and I went to school together, like elementary and high school? We've known each other for years. And Tabitha's here too. Hi, Tabitha. Good to have you here, lady. And look, Cindy's here too. Good evening to you too, lady. So good. So happy to have you guys here with me. One of the things I forgot to do today was to send the video link over to the group. And so I am going to do that right now. Now, let's see. Let me think. How am I going to do this? Because I don't want to lose what I've got going here. And there we go. Yeah, here we go. And post that. There. At least it went over to my personal profile. Yeah. Oh, YouTube hasn't started yet? Oh. Well, that's interesting because your little icon, Rob, that you had with your first message showed the YouTube link. That's odd, isn't it? Well, I'll check into that after the show because YouTube should be here with us. I know that we're Be Live was having a little difficulty with that stuff earlier today. And Be Live is our partners that help us to do these kind of neat stuff that's on the screen. And when we have guests and that sort of thing, so they can be on the same screen with us. Yeah, well, I'll check that out. Rob, okay? Because that's what you're saying. It hasn't started yet. I don't know. Rochelle's here too. Hi, Rochelle. Happy birthday, Rochelle. A little belated, but happy birthday to you. And so tonight's show, it's about the adrenal fatigue. And honestly, I didn't know that existed for me. I thought I was just dealing with diabetic stuff. It's type 2 diabetes. And after, my mom walked on, things got pretty complicated with my health. And I thought I was only dealing with just the diabetes. And so I was really very focused on bringing my glucose readings down in a more normal range, which is what some say 85 to 100, something like that. And so my goal has always been to be around 95 to 100. And yeah, so that's what I've been working on. And I have a nutritional coach that helps me to get through those things and to understand what the heck's happening in my body. And so tonight's show is about that. It's actually about the spiritual connection between adrenal fatigue and what's happening to all of our bodies, the mental, the emotional, the physical, and the spiritual. So I wanted to share with you guys some of the things that I have been experiencing, and maybe if you guys wouldn't mind sharing, if you have something similar that's going on in your life, sharing, and because we learn so much more from each other, right? And so if you wouldn't mind sharing, that would be great too. Okay, so this adrenal fatigue, is it real? I'm here to tell you that it is. Now, in the recent past, I'd say about 20 years ago or so, the medical community, the Western medical community, really didn't see it as a disease or a syndrome. It wasn't a part of a diagnosis. They had other things that they called it. Some people would recognize this as, we used to call it burnout, getting burned out. Okay. And yeah, that was back in the 80s and 90s, right? Well, fast forward, when the medical community and the healers, right, like Reiki and acupuncture and those kinds of healers, when they started actually getting together and sharing information and actually sharing office space with each other, that kind of thing, that things started to shift a bit. Now, all the things that I've read about this and in those early days is that it was mostly coming from a lot of women going in to see their doctors and saying, I'm just not feeling myself. I'm just not feeling right. And I'm not sure what it is. I'm tired all the time, and giving the doctors a whole litany of stuff that's been changing for them. And a lot of doctors back then thought it was all in their heads, right? Yeah, all in their heads. It's like, get more sleep, get more sleep, and you'll feel a lot better. And then they started doing prescriptions for anxiety just to get people to chill out a little bit, right? And so the answer to that was a pill. All right. So now the thing is that even today, though, that there is this thing about having a medical diagnosis, right? And so the medical diagnosis that you can get to actually say that you have adrenal fatigue sometimes isn't all that easy to get either, depending on your doctor and what company they work for and all of that. And so even today, you can use the term adrenal fatigue, but if you're not medically diagnosed with it, some people in the Western medical world would kind of look at you sideways and say, if you haven't been diagnosed, that's not what you have. No matter how many stories we can tell them about our daily lives, right? All right, so I'm going to share with you some information that I found that I thought raised my eyebrows a few times. So there's two reasons that adrenal fatigue gets dismissed by doctors. Number one is there's no recognized medical condition called adrenal fatigue. Adrenal fatigue is made up by alternative medicine. It was a term coined in alternative medicine. And second, and this one's big, they said, is that adrenal glands don't actually get fatigued. Then what the heck? What the heck? And so as with adrenal fatigue, women were dismissed by the medical community who thought they were hypochondriacs or had mental health problems, since there were no lab findings to prove that they have these symptoms or that something was really going on. Okay, so then I started thinking, okay, so what do they call symptoms? What are some of the symptoms of adrenal fatigue? This is going to blow you away. So two different resources, okay? The first resource says fatigue, yay. Sleep problems, irritability, anxiety, feeling blue, sugar, carbs, and fat, caffeine or salt cravings, tiredness around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, weight gain around the middle section of your body, right around the waistline, getting sick more often than you used to. For those of us going through menopause, even more issues with hormonal problems, forgetfulness and brain fog, digestive problems, could lead to other autoimmune conditions such as Hashimoto. Okay. That's just from one resource. The other resource added lethargy, insomnia, morning sluggishness, need for stimulants to get you moving, like coffee, constipation, dry hair and skin, arthritis pain in upper back and neck, unexplained hair loss, cold hands and feet or just plain cold, increase in allergies, both food and inhalant, ligament pain. When I read those lists, I was thinking, okay, even if the rule of thumb is like 3, you might want to go to a doctor or an alternative doctor to have this taken a look at, right? Even if there were just 3 out of that whole list, I started checking them off. And I thought my hair thinning was from stress from mom passing away. Okay. I didn't connect it to adrenal fatigue. Didn't do that. And the more I started reading and the more I started asking questions to my nutritional coach, I sat for a while and realized which came first, the type 2 diabetes diagnosis or adrenal fatigue. It's like the chicken and egg thing. Because the adrenal fatigue could be the leading factor for the type 2 diabetes for me. And so it helped me to take a look at my health with a wider scope, okay? A wider scope. I thought I was just dealing with type 2 diabetes. That was it. And then when my nutritional coach said, that you probably have been in adrenal fatigue for quite some time. And I looked at her and I said, what's adrenal fatigue? And so she goes to explain what it is to me. And then when I started looking into it even more, I was thinking, holy smokes. Okay, so what does our spirit have to do with all of this, right? So I started looking. First of all, wouldn't it be interesting to know, do you know where your adrenals are and where they are? Here's a picture of them. We'll give it a solo here. This is your kidneys. And right on top of the kidneys is the adrenal gland. We have 2 of them. They say they're about the size of a walnut. And they sit right on top of the kidneys. So the gland itself is not very big, but I tell you what, it's a part of our endocrine system. It's a part of our endocrine system. So almost everything within our body goes through our adrenal glands. I don't know if it was a light bulb moment or if it was a throwing up my hands and thinking, oh my God, now what? Right? All right. So, and I thought, what does that look like? What does that look like if we kind of took a look at our endocrine system, right? So at the very top, that red dot right there, that's a pituitary. And then the thyroid at the throat. And then the thalamus at the chest. Then you have the kidneys. That kind of pinkish color at the top of the kidneys is the adrenals, the pancreas, and then the productive organs. That's all the endocrine system. And these 2 little guys, these 2 little walnut size, they without them, all the other stuff that's going on in endocrine system isn't going to happen. Yeah, those tiny little glands. So just putting it in focus of where they're located in my physical body helped me to understand, oh, okay. And I know that through my studies with spiritual classes, I know that every gland has a chakra. So what chakra is involved with the adrenal glands? Okay. All right. Now I'm going to show you two different pictures. Okay. Here's one showing some chakras, right? So the third chakra, which is sitting in the solar plexus, right where that green dot is, notice it's kind of got a brighter circle around it. That's our will center, our dantian. That will center also includes our second chakra, which is the sacral. But the kidneys sit right at the third chakra, the solar plexus, our will center. And did you know that the adrenal glands, you know what we use them for? They excrete two hormones, and that's cortisol and adrenaline. That those little walnuts, those little glands, they are all about our fight and flight responses. Our fight and flight. So you know that's also connected to our root chakra then too, right? Yep. Feeling safe. And so when we are distressed, stressed, and our environment is that for long periods of time, it weakens us. It tires us out. It tires out those glands, our body, right? Because they're always on, always on. You know, they said that the adrenal glands really don't get fatigued, but there's something about not being able to fire efficiently. So that when we are caught in situations where we have to make that decision, do we fight or do we run? Or do we freeze, right? That's the other one. Or do we freeze? So when our adrenals aren't healthy and balanced, that's when we kind of get like the caught in the headlights kind of situations, you know, and you're slow in response. You're slow in response. You know, I don't know how many times over the years, at least the last 5 years, when I would get respite and somebody would be here with mom and Paul and I would go away for the weekend or whatever, I'd ask them that we not go too far. I don't want to spend, hours in the car to get someplace that I'm too tired to appreciate, just so that I sleep nearly most of the time so I can be in the car and driving another 3 hours back, right? And because there were many times that I felt like half my mind was asleep. And so making decisions when I hit that wall of fatigue, there was no energy left to make any decisions. I couldn't even make a decision about whether to have carrots or beans for supper for the vegetable, So that is that kind of level of fatigue. I don't know if you've ever experienced it, and if you have, please share if you feel like you can, that you feel comfortable enough in doing that, because the numbers of just U.S. citizens, okay, just the United States, they put the number of symptoms of adrenal fatigue at 80%. That's a lot. That's when you take a look, right? Take a look around you and how many of 80% would be walking around with symptoms of adrenal fatigue. That's a lot. All right. Rob's saying, it's the story of my life. You work until you break and you're recommended for wrong and you're condemned for weakness. That's the American way. That's the Western way, especially here in the Midwest, because if you're not being productive, if you're not being productive, it's a moral weakness. Yes, I'm Protestant. Well, that's part of that belief system that we grew up in, right? And I'm in the process right now of recalibrating that, dismantling it. Mine has more to do with the belief of how much responsibility I have, and for who, and why, and that sort of thing. I need a building code. Exactly. Well, Barbie's here. Hi, Barbie. Hi, Barbie. Good to have you here. Lisa's saying, is this on Facebook? It should be. Lisa, let me know in the chat if you're having problems with it. We'll try to give you a hand with it, okay? Yeah, because there's something going on with YouTube. Amy says, every single one of those symptoms for years. Yes, Amy. Yes. And this is what Sherry, my nutritional coach, said. She said, we don't get here overnight. We don't get here in a month, in 3 months. It takes years to get to this point. Yeah. And Amy, I know that you can identify with this. I know you can, because you and I have talked about something very similar to this in the past. Sometimes it's physical. Like on Thursday, I was helping Paul. We were washing the four-season windows, the ceiling actually. It was fun. I did have fun. But within 45 minutes, not quite an hour, physically I was done. And I was done for the rest of the day. Friday, we were just running errands, just in town. And then we went to a neighbor's birthday party. People I don't know, haven't met yet. Paul had, but I hadn't. And so we walked in. And so for me, it was a lot of energy to make small talk, chit chat, and to be socially on, right? We left there. We were there not quite an hour. We left there. We went to go pick up Georgie. Paul looked at me and he said, "You hit rock bottom again?" And I said, "I think so." And so we came home. I sat in the recliner. I tried to watch a funny movie, fell asleep. I took all day Saturday to recoup. Now my recuperation time is getting shorter, which is good. That's the good thing. Rob is saying yes. He says, it's not working here, but I have it on Facebook on my iPad. Okay. I'm not sure because I have the YouTube emblem up that we're supposed to be simulcasting. So I'll have to get in touch with Be Live after the show. I know they want us to do it during it, but I'm not going to do it. We'll do it later. Yes, it is. Hang on. Maybe I can share it with you. I'm thinking. All right. So I'm thinking I can do it this way. Hang on. I'm going to try to get this over to Lisa. More options. And we'll go to Lisa Crawford. I'm sending it to you, Lisa, by Messenger, okay? So we'll hit send. It should be there. It's on the business Facebook page. I think it should get to you. Okay. Hopefully that worked. Cross my fingers. Okay. Oh, got it. Okay. Good. Thank you. Hey, Julie's here too, joining in a bit late. Nope, you're right on time, lady. It's good chatting with you this weekend too. And Rochelle says, I was told recently by my doctor that my kidneys are working 88%. I wonder about my stomach issues, adrenal glands. I don't know. It could be. I mean, they do say that digestive issues are part of the symptoms associated with adrenal fatigue. And if your kidneys are working at 88%, see, one of the things I did, Rochelle, when I started taking I think it was the Jardiance for my diabetes. I couldn't take the metformin because that didn't agree with me. But the Jardiance I've been taking, and it works through the kidneys. And so what I do is I drink really good water, and a lot of it. The reverse osmosis and also distilled. Paul and I, we bought a water distiller. And so sometimes I mix the two, and so I try to drink really good water to help my poor little kidneys along, because they're also busy trying to deal with the Jardians. So I don't know. It's a possibility, Rochelle. It's a possibility. Rob says it sounds similar to the psychological addiction to substances. It does, doesn't it? It does. And I think, Rob, I wonder if there isn't a part of an addiction issue when it comes to um, what our work is and how we do it. Um, the distress piece about leading to stress, right? Being out of control. So you're always trying to make sure you control everything you possibly can, right? Those are perfectionists. And so, there might be something. You might be onto something there. I'm thinking. Tabitha's definitely have most, if not all of them. Yeah, I know. When I took a look at those lists, and like I said, I didn't know if it was a light bulb moment, or if it was what? Really? All of them? Well, nearly all of them. Amy says, yes, a lot. By 3 to 4 p.m., I slam into the brick wall at work and can hardly stand or walk, let alone being productive. I know. I literally, for months, December, January, February, March, when I got to that point, which didn't take much, I was asleep for a couple hours. Yeah. Couldn't do anything. Barbie saying a lot of symptoms as fibromyalgia. Yes. And they think that there's a link to that between where does it really start? And, and same thing in my case is that, I thought I was just working with diabetes, working toward getting that reversed, that type 2 diabetes, when I'm really dealing more with which one came first. And that's intellectually. But I know that in order to fully heal, I have to work in all my bodies, right? And so it's just not the intellect, but also the emotional. For me, it's really heavily in the emotional, and also the spiritual, right? All the bodies. All right. Tabitha, I find myself dozing off as soon as I sit down without intending to. Been there so many times, Tabitha, so many times. Sometimes I would just sit down. Now, Mom was still here with us. I would sit down after, helping her with something, and I'd sit down to work on something for Star Nations, and I would fall asleep. I fell asleep. I don't know how many times I was searching for pictures or something, doing research, and I scrolling down, holding the button down, right? And I'd fall asleep. I don't know how many times I did that. Many, many times. Sometimes sitting in a hard chair at the dining room table because I figured it would be so uncomfortable I wouldn't fall asleep. But I did. Yay, Lisa got it. Good one. And Julie says, my body has changed since 2020. My off switch gets triggered more easily now. There are many factors I'm trying to understand of my needs, but it feels very limiting at times. I hear you. I really do. In fact, I did say something to Sherry, my coach, today about that. I said, sometimes I hit the frustration button because I'm starting to feel better. And so my reservoir of energy is much deeper than it was a few months ago. And so I want to get ready to do something. I start doing something and I get tired. Physically, I get tired. And once I'm physically tired, then following the heels on that is mentally tired, emotionally tired. It's very easy for me to start crying, right? And so that frustration piece is like, I want to create. I have the desire to do this, but I don't have the engine to do it with. Yeah. Did you hear the squeak, squeak, squeak? That was Georgie. All right. And Amy says, yes, and worse with having lots of kids around me at work, many of whom are high and hungover too. Yeah. And when we get to that point of frustration and really, really tired, our patience level goes down to this. It's just that one saying, you're getting on my last nerve. It's very similar to that. They say that our emotions are very triggered. Yeah. Water of life. Yes. Water is life. Rob says very much related to our work. Sometimes you need to lose your temper just to stay awake. Yeah. It's that boil over point, right? Yeah. Michelle said I was diagnosed in 1983 that I have fibromyalgia. I'm having great discomfort in my right shoulder and right side of my neck. Rochelle, you might want to widen the scope just a picture just a little bit and consider, the adrenal fatigue piece. Yeah, you might want to do that. I mean, is it going to hurt anything to see where you're at? I don't know what your medical doctor is like, if you can go through them or if you need to go through an alternative doctor. Lisa says, I have stepped back from technology as I feel this is a culprit as well. It can be when our energy level is that low that, our defenses are low, right? And so I realized that I've always, since I've activated my Merkaba all those years ago, is that, it's been very helpful. It has been very helpful. But see, some of this is in our path for spiritual growth. Right. And so not to turn away from it or to say it doesn't exist isn't helping us in our spiritual growth. Yeah. All right. Let's see. I have one more picture I wanted to show you. Let's see. Let me remove yeah, it's a little bit better. So this looks very familiar, right? So familiar. It's the Kundalini chakra system, right? And so the kidneys are just right there, just at the waistline, right in the solar plexus area. It's our will, right? The solar plexus. When I first started doing the Merkaba meditation years and years ago, there was a portion of the old meditation where we had to see, envision the brightness of the dantian, the solar plexus, like a sunrise or brilliant yellow, orange, brilliant, and literally had to help lift that energy up into our heart chakra. And so that will center, the solar plexus, is when we're out of balance, because that's part of it. We are. When we have adrenal fatigue, we're out of balance. We're out of balance. So I wanted us to take a look at, where does this gland, what part of the chakra system is it a part of? And so we can start connecting those dots for ourselves, right? Rob saying, since constipation is a symptom, my dad has always told me, well, it could be hereditary too. Barbie said, would muscle something help? Muscle testing help? It could be, but here's the thing, Barbie, is that for some people like me, it affects my ligaments. And so if you're doing a 2-person muscle test, kinesiology, where you raise your arm up and they push your arm down to see if you go weak. Yeah. I personally wouldn't trust my arm to be able to be strong enough to do that, because my ligament especially my left shoulder has a problem. And I think that was a part of my sciatica issue as well, because I thought it was all about the metformin that I was on, because it said that it was going to could affect large muscle groups. And yeah, and I tell you, there were times when I thought my right hip was dislocating and it hurt. Right. And then my left arm. I was a mess. And let's see, what last year, 2020, that must have been like August, September, something like that. Maybe July. Yeah, I was a mess. So yeah, possibly, doing the muscle testing this way, maybe, you could try it, see what happens. Have a clear question, right, about it. Do I have adrenal fatigue? Possible. Okay, I got so much information for you guys. All right, so here's another term called allostatic load. That was a new one for me. Allostatic load. I'll spell it for you. It's ALLOSTATIC load, and that is adapting to our environment. And what happens is that this allostatic load gets overloaded. So what this resource was saying is that it's a misnomer to call our fatigue adrenal fatigue. It's a phenomenon properly called allostatic load. It means that humans have an incredible ability to adapt our environments and stay well. The allostatic load is the wear and tear on your body that happens when you're chronically exposed to activated stress response. So it's kind of constantly hitting that button, right? Yeah. And so our bodies over the years gets overloaded. Our fight or flight response gets overloaded. So if we're constantly in that situation, that our system gets overloaded. And it kind of reminds me of coping mechanisms. Do you remember that out of the psychological studies those days in my studies in college? Coping mechanisms. We outgrow our coping mechanisms, or we should. The ones that we no longer need, we should be releasing, letting them go, and getting better ones or new ones that help us better in our life where we're at, right? So when I read this is what I was going through my mind was, that's kind of like using the same coping mechanism over and over and over. And after a while, it doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work. But we keep doing it. Until we end up in a situation where we have to adapt, or we have to step out of it. And many of us, I don't know about you, but I know a lot of people who are stepping away from the distress and removing it from their lives, or removing themselves from it. Yeah. Are you one of those people? Because I know I am. All right. So here's the thing with the adrenal and the hormone cortisol. Cortisol is made by the adrenals and it's released. So when the adrenals are constantly firing and they're putting out more and more and more, that's why we get that weight around our waistline. And also can make us feel like we're foggy, like, we're just not quite with it. And we can feel it. And there's not much we can do about it, even though we want have another cup of coffee, or maybe go out and take a walk or something, but it doesn't make it better. It doesn't make it better. And those late night cravings of food that you think that, I know it's not good for me. I know potato chips are not good for a diabetic. And yet I crave the saltiness of it and the fat, really. So here's this, is that cortisol that keeps dumping into our system, that messes up our insulin that our body makes. And our cells need to be able to allow in the glucose into our cells, right? So this is where my eyes got really big. It's like, okay, so this is a part of that insulin resistance. That's when I kind of put 2 and 2 together for myself, is like, okay, I'm not just dealing with type 2 diabetes here. I'm not. I also have to take care of this adrenal fatigue, because the two are so intertwined, enmeshed, that I can't tell which one is causing the other. So I have to take care of both of them equally. Okay. So back to the spiritual connection of it. Tam was saying, thinking back, a lot of these started for me after a major wreck in 2010, and it's gotten worse over time. Yeah. See, and I connected to those emotional and physical mental traumas. So you've heard me 1,000 times say we have to heal our emotional, mental, and physical traumas, right? We have to heal those in order to be able to live our lives with joy and from our hearts. We get closer and closer to our original frequency. So if that is a pivot point for you, Tabitha, then that's helpful to recognize that, so then you can go back and what was that in that accident, that major wreck, that still needs your attention to turn to and to heal, right? It's like pointing at it for you. Take no dose. Do they even still make that? I don't know if they do. All right, so the spiritual connection. All right, so failure to deal with spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical issues is likely to result in the manifestation of illness in the body. I think we can all agree on that, right? All of our classes we've ever taken with our spiritual studies, if you're a healer and you've taken classes to further your ability to help others heal, we've known that, right? It's a known factor. So the adrenals are a sure telltale sign that the spirit body is out of alignment or out of balance. The metaphysical cause of adrenal fatigue is defeatism, not trusting in oneself and not caring for oneself. So it really is about trust. It really is about trust. It goes back to that fear, right? Back to the root chakra, back to the fear. Yeah. When you have a parent who is a perfectionist and you grow up with that, you tend to take on that because that's something that you were taught, right? Yeah. And so for me, a lot of it, when I read that, it was like, I always put so many people before me, and I know a lot of women do that we put ourselves at the bottom of the list. I'm usually the first one up, past tense. I was usually the first one up and the last one to go to bed. And so many times, especially when Mama's here, those last few months, 6 months, my hours of sleep were fastly dwindling from 4 hours, 3 hours, 2 hours, an hour, and sometimes no sleep at all. And so always putting somebody else before ourselves. Julie says, what do you think, Yvette Neshi Lokotz, about the topic related to sensitives and seers as we're still working through the challenges of COVID-19? Ooh, that's a good one. I would like to do that show with you, Julie. Would you like to be my guest? Let's do that. Okay. We'll figure out which Tuesday nights you're most available, and let's do that one. I think we're ready for it, don't you? Yeah. Some people are probably past ready. Amy's saying, started in 2000, finishing school, then disasters 4 years. Yeah. So, you kind of have to look at those pivotal moments in your life and what happened. What happened? What parts did you not heal? What needs further healing, right? Okay. Okay, covered that. Now, there is a little bit of a brain link too. There is. And, and I showed that to you with this image. The pineal gland up here in the head. So the link between the areas of the brain and the adrenal glands matter because the adrenals are in charge of the fight and flight. That response, it's an adrenaline response. So the same hormones released when we're under a lot of stress. So it starts here and it goes up to our brain. It's just one more reason to try to practice, a practice that appeals to you, right? That will help us to calm. Mine is Tai Chi. Some people, it's yoga. Other people, it's walk out in nature, Pilates, right? So, we have tools. It's a matter of using them, because and the other thing that goes along with this, guys, is that there's no quick fix. There isn't. There's not a pill, a powder, a liquid. Some of it can be helpful, supplements, vitamin Bs, that sort of thing. Yes, that could be helpful, but it's not going to do this change into a healthy person overnight. It's just not going to happen. It's a lifestyle change. And how many of us after 2020, that's where we're at, is a lifestyle change. I called it recalibration. And I still call it that because I'm recalibrating. I'm going through what needs to change, and it's a lifestyle. And, it's listening to not just my spiritual team. I'm glad I do. They help me a whole bunch. But I also have to listen to my physical body. I can't keep pushing it the way that I have been pushing it. In the class that I just finished teaching, Journey of Remembering, whenever I've taught that class, the last day, after they've created their Merkaba and we finished up the information, I would normally gift them with a medicine dress dance, a dance that is blessings for them. Okay. And it's my joy to do that. I had my dress out. I had my moccasins out. I had the beadwork out. Everything was ready to go Sunday morning, and I was going to put it in the garment bag. And as soon as I put my hands on the dress, I heard my team saying, "You have a choice. You can do this. You can do the dance for them. But it's not going to be a blessing for them or for you, because Notice how you're feeling right now. And I could feel the fatigue. It was getting closer, getting closer. It's just not out there on the periphery. And I know that I would have been dancing on concrete, our concrete floor, and that's hard on the legs at any time. And so I had to listen to my physical body and explain to the students that, my apologies, and I will do this for you someday, but it's not going to be today. And that is the first time I've ever said no that way. Because if it was something that was something that I felt a responsibility for, I would do it come hell or high water. It would get done. Yeah, and so that was huge. That was a huge breakthrough for me. Oh, good. Julie says, sure thing. Yay. I love doing shows with you. Amy says, oh, would love to talk about that topic. Julie, yes, it's a great topic. Suppository. Well, I don't think I'd ever help anybody with a suppository again. No. Did it with mom, and no, I don't think I'm ever going to do that again. All right, so Julie Shumway Hill saying, dealing with type 2 diabetes and hyperthyroidism started for me at the same time I stopped being a full-time mom and went to work outside the home. Thinking this was my trigger for my disease, I need to find a way to make a change to heal my body. That is a great insight, Julie. It's a great insight. What changes? What things need to be healed to move in the direction of health and well-being, right? Yeah. Hey, I've got one more thing for you. Most of you know Dr. Christine Northrup, right? Have you heard of her? Dr. Christine Northrup. I found an article that she wrote, Spiritual Support for Adrenals. And in that article, she states that adrenal exhaustion usually suggests that there are long-standing life problems in need of resolution. Julie Shumway Hill. I'll say it again. Adrenal exhaustion usually suggests that there are long-standing life problems in need of resolution. She goes on to say, the solution is to remind yourself there is an endless source of strength available to you. Tap into it and shore up your inner strength with this beautiful affirmation. And she gives us the affirmation. It's, new strength is flowing freely to every part of my being now. I am renewed in spirit, soul, and body. New strength is flowing. I'm going to just put it in the, hang on. I'm going to copy and paste it into, and this is by Christine Northrup. Okay, that's going to appear in just 30 seconds or so, not even 18. There's just a little bit of a delay. And so when I read that affirmation, I thought, I like that. I do, because it reaffirms that our connection to the Creator, to universal energy, I know this is always flowing through us at the frequency of love, at the frequency of love. And so it's a reminder. It's a reminder that it's always there for us to tap into. We, the human, has to slow down and really take it in, consciously take it in and take care of this vessel, our vehicle for our spirit to have this physical experience, right? That to let go of the distress, find other ways to manage it, find other ways to remove it, and replace it with something that is more supportive, right? I know, easier said than done, because I'm right in the middle of it. Julie said, this is perfect show for me today. Aw, thank you, Julie. And Kimberly's here. Hi, everyone. Glad to be here. Great convo after suffering with chronic fatigue for 3 years. Kimberly, when I was doing the research after talking to Sherry a few times, now the time frame that some of the experts, I'm going to put it in quotations, experts are saying 3 months to 3 years. When Sherry and I, my coach and I were talking about this, she goes, you can't, it's so subjective. You can't put a time frame around it because the body is wise that it's going to take as long as it takes. And it also is determined of how willing the person is to change their lifestyle, to go through the changes, to not just go through them, but to accept them and replace old stuff with the new. And sometimes that takes more time. Oh, there's that quote. Follow that lady. She's awesome. Isn't she, though? I really like her a lot. Have for years. So I'm at the top of the hour. I just wanted to say thank you, all of you, for being here with me this evening and allowing me to share with you my journey, my recalibration journey about this thing called adrenal fatigue and my type 2 diabetes. I think that when we share from our hearts like this and share the information that we find, it benefits all of us. It really does. Because now we have this conversation, right? And it's recorded, which means now I can send this over to my sister-in-law because she wouldn't necessarily have time to be able to, from job and work and all that, to be able to come and listen for the hour, but she can use the recording little bits at a time. I've got 10 minutes. I can listen for 10 minutes. I got 20 minutes. I can listen for 20 minutes until she does the entire show, right? So there's that. There's a gift in that, I think. I do. So thank you so much. Now, I will be back next week, and I believe that is the 15th, right? July 15th? No, 13th. July 13th. Now, Julie and I are going to get together. We're going to figure this out. Which Tuesday night is going to be good to have the show and the topic about, what was that, Julie? I got to scroll up. A topic related to sensitives and seers as we're still working through the challenges of COVID-19. Yeah. So look for that. It'll either be next week or the following week, right? One of those. And so hopefully you'll be able to join us for that. So, and with that, I'll say Bama Mina. And you know that's Potawatomi for until we see each other again. I love you guys.